To get started, welcome everybody to our second edition of the bi-weekly webinar with the FOUS4 crew. We got me, Cameron Foos, founder of FOUSalerts.com. We also got Robert Millar, who was another one of my former students, now runs all business and sales operations at FOUSalerts.com. And now recently, Mike, who just came on board this month, who has just been killing it at trading using the FOUS4 strategy. And so we brought him on as director of trading to kind of help me out with all the trading operations. So guys, say what's up to Mike and Robert. Holla.
Guys,
Oh, what's
what's
up,
up,
man?
Lance?
All right, so anyways, guys, what this webinar is going to be about is kind of, getting started trading. Everyone starts somewhere in trading. And also, even if you are trading or you're looking for a new strategy to learn how to make money, there's a lot of different ways that you can make money in trading, but you have to find a niche that actually works for you. I've gone through a bunch of other different trading things throughout my career, but I suck at all of them. I'm good at what I do, and so that's what I stick to. And everyone has to find that niche that they are good at. So basically, my story is I was in college and I was looking to learn how to trade stocks, and I actually came across a website called 3stocksonfire.com and actually learned a lot of what I do and know today based off of that. But at the same time, I was really young. I was in college, and I was screwing around the whole time. I was getting drunk all the time and just living in college life. But I was also very, very passionate and fascinated by the stock market. And with that, it took me 3 years before I ever started making money consistently. And part of that was just discipline wise. I was focused on school and doing other things, just mainly having fun. But after 10 years of trading, I don't want anybody to go through all the bullshit that I went through in the beginning, and that's why I created FOUS4 DVD. At the same time, once I started my company, people ask me the same exact questions over and over again. So I basically laid it out for you in a 14-hour trading course, so you can learn basically everything I've learned from my wins and my losses, all my mistakes that I've ever made, and try to fast track your success rather than screwing around for 3 years like I did. So you actually have a set plan to move forward with and actually learn how to trade stocks. So that's what I, created the FOUS4 trading system for, to give you guys, a step-by-step, A to Z plan to really, just be able to actually make money. So many people come in to our chat room and they have no idea what we're talking about. They have nothing, no knowledge whatsoever of how to trade, and that's the absolutely dumbest thing you can possibly do. Just like our new video that we just created, I talk about it in an analogy as, think about if you're walking into a test for college per se, and you decided not to even study. You're just going to show up and be like, "What's up, guys? Just going to take the test today." Like, what are you, what are you doing? Why the fuck are you here? You're obviously going to fail. And in the stock market, your money's on the line. So do you want to lose all your money? That's what's going to happen. I guarantee you 110%. That is exactly what will happen. And so, we just try to emphasize the fact that going through some sort of educational process and training first, is the absolute best way to get started in trading stocks. And, Michael went on that path as well. He went through the FOUS4 training. So, Mike, why don't you give us a little bit of your background and kind of tell us how you got started in trading?
Yeah, so basically, I went to college for finance and did the whole 4 years, got the education and learned the basics. And then when I graduated, I became an analyst and I was an advisor. So I had like my Series 7, Series 63, my Series 86. So I was qualified to work basically on Wall Street, and I had a couple of jobs that were very corporate for about 4 or 5 years graduating after college. Basically, I was at my job one day. I was scrolling through Instagram, and I wasn't really satisfied with what I was doing. I knew about the market, but I really didn't know how to trade. Anybody can kind of pick a stock. You can buy Apple, you can buy Facebook, and hold it for 5 years and make 30 to 100%. But at the end of the day, if you want the big returns, that's in trading. So when I came across Fous's page on Instagram, I saw his lifestyle. A lot of freedom. You can be your own boss, and you can also make a crap ton of money in a very short period of time. So I saw that he had advertised his DVDs, and the first thing I did was I immediately purchased them. And basically, the first set deals with strictly swing trading, and then the second set kind of goes into more intraday trading. And basically, I dove into those DVDs for, I remember I was watching them at my job for probably about, 2 to 3 weeks, just watching the lessons over and over again. And everything in those DVDs breaks down how to trade. FOUS kind of created a strategy that simplifies the market. Because if you turn on CNBC or any of the media channels and you try and watch the market, it looks real complicated. But at the end of the day, like FOUS said, if you can find a niche and work that niche, you know, it can pay huge dividends, especially if you know what you're doing. And more importantly, if you kind of study and are prepared and put in the work.
Yeah, exactly. You really do need to find a way that works for you. I'm not saying mine's the best. Mine's just what works for me. It worked for Mike, it worked for Robert, and it's worked for, thousands of other students that we have worldwide. So you really don't know until you try anything, and that's just trading. It's not an easy thing to do. It takes a lot of hard work, a lot of discipline, and a lot of time to really, build yourself into a trader and actually be able to call yourself a trader. You can't just, watch my DVDs overnight and all of a sudden you're a trader. It takes a lot of practice and actual utilization of everything you've learned over a course of, whatever time it takes for you to actually get it stuck in your head, what you need to do to trading. Trading is also a lot to do with your mental state. I can teach you everything how to trade, but unless you can't click buy and sell when you need to, you're going to suck at trading. So it's very important that you have a winning mindset and really confident in a strategy to be able to make money. And if you go into the stock market and just start buying and selling stocks and you don't know why you're doing that, you can't be confident in your strategy, and I guarantee you're going to lose money. But anyways, guys, I just want to go ahead and let you know that we're going to do an in-webinar exclusive 50% off of the DVDs with the promo code FOUS50. Robert, if you want to go ahead and push that offer now, it's going to last for I think about 15 minutes, 20 minutes only for this offer. If you don't see that thing, let me pull it up here. Where is it? Up in the top right, that little offer tab, there should be a ticker and a little exclusive code. It says FOUS50 is the promo code. So we're offering it in webinar exclusive 50% off. So it's $500 instead of 1,000. So a huge discount to really take advantage and actually fast track your way to success rather than just kind of winging it. And I guarantee you, if you try to wing it, be my guest, but you're going to save a lot of more time and money going through an educational process. I'm not saying, again, that mine's the best whatsoever. It's just a strategy that works for me. It's worked for Mike. It's worked for Robert and worked for a lot of other people. So, whoever you go through, you got to go through somebody. So figure it out, and you got to take that leap. You can't just dive into the stock market. But anyways, next we want to kind of just go over what the FOUS4 DVDs are about, what's in them, so you kind of have a more clear picture of what's going on. Basically, when I first started trading, back in 2005 at 3stocksonfire.com, they were all strictly swing trader based. I didn't even look at an intraday chart. It was only looking at, daily charts, swing trading patterns, where you're going to be holding a stock between a couple days to, a couple weeks. It really just depended on the pattern. And so that was it. That was all we did. It was swing trading. The alerts that they sent out, they would send an alert pre-market before the open saying, I'm buying this today. They weren't even giving you a price or anything. So it was a much slower system. And the market back then was totally, completely different. So you could actually do that. I didn't even wake up for the market opens back in 2005 and 2006. I didn't need to. You were just basically swing trading. It didn't really matter what happened within the first 30 minutes. But basically what you're going to learn in FOUS4 is, the psychology of trading, how to actually think like a winning trader, because your mentality is huge, and being able to have confidence in your strategy is a major, major part of your success. You're also going to learn how to manage your portfolio, manage your risk reward ratios, as well as, how to set stops, learn about all the patterns that we trade, in addition to set profit targets and whatnot. And after that, there's going to be about 3 hours of actual trade examples, half of it's wins, half of its losses. And that's trading. Knowing how to lose is much more important than knowing how to win. My win ratio is only 52%, so I'm literally losing half the time. But I cut my losses short, and I don't allow those losing positions to get into a really bad situation where I'm actually doing damage to my account. And if I have a winning trade, I'm always, piece by piece taking profits on the way up. But there's no reason to hold on to a stock once it's going into a FaceTime into a losing position. It's just that's the only way you can lose money is if you allow that to happen. Like I posted on Instagram today, the only reason why people lose money in the stock market is because they chose to lose. You're in control of your trading account. You can buy and sell whenever you want. So if a stock goes into losing position and you allow that to happen, you're choosing to lose. So you have to choose not to lose and get out of that position. You can always rebuy that stock if you want to, if it comes back up. But to allow that, chart or that trade to turn into a big losing position, you just made that happen because you decided to not manage your risk and get out of the position. So that's basically what you learn in FOUS4. That's kind of the basics of trading, how to think like a trader, and the basic FOUS4 patterns, which are the FOUS4 revival, gold, survival, and force pattern. In FOUS4 Part 2, I kind of created this after 2008. 2008, I don't know how many people were actually around during the financial collapse. I started the technicaltrader.net in 2006. I did it for free for 2 years in college. April of 2008, I turned it into a business. I told myself I either got to go continue to go to school, graduate, and go be a stockbroker somewhere, or turn this company into a real business and say, fuck school, I'm getting out of here. So that's what I did. I turned the technicaltrader.net into a business where it was a subscription-based alert service and said, screw school. This is what I want to do with my career. And then 6 months later, I moved to San Diego, 2008. The entire stock market collapsed and the whole entire financial system, seems to be dead. And I'm like, what the hell just happened? My career is over. But it was literally only about 3-4 months where it was just hectic. You couldn't even trade. And there is absolutely no swing trading whatsoever because holding overnight, there was so much risk where the market was swinging up and down 1,000 points before the market even opened. And that's when I really had to learn how to look at intraday charts and focus on day trading. So after that whole situation happened, I really had to rewire my brain to adapt to the market volatility. And that's what we go into in FOUS4 Part 2 is learning how to identify those intraday patterns where you can actually make money within minutes. Literally, you can make $1,000 in 5 minutes trading these patterns. Typically, what I use is the F1 is the most popular pattern that I use, and that's what I really focus on in FOUS4 Part 2. But at the same time, you have to understand FOUS4 because really the biggest trades that you're going to make are when you're aligning these multiple time frames where you see a really hot daily chart and you see a really hot intraday chart, and you combine those two together. And if you see that, especially if there's some kind of news pushing the stock to actually back it, you can make some really, really big trades. But that's basically what you're going to learn in those DVDs. Mike, I don't know if you have any good trade examples to pull up right now to screen share and talk about here.
Yeah. See that? Let me know how, I don't know how it's coming out. How's that looking?
Let's see how see what everybody else says here.
Good.
Yep.
All right. So basically, one of the stocks we've been focusing on, Suni, is a good example of basically the types of patterns and more importantly, the types of returns we look for. So obviously you have the daily chart that's on top and you have the intraday chart that's down below. So basically, this stock back in July was trading at about 30, $35 a share. And ever since then, it's been completely beaten down and dropped to as low as $2.50. So basically, the types of trades that we look for, we're basically triangle traders. One of the most popular technical patterns is a triangle, and that is a pattern that will form pre-breakout. So I'm just going to show you guys from a drawing standpoint how this looks. You basically have lower highs on the daily chart, and then on the intraday, and then on the daily chart as well. So basically, you can see this is a triangle. You have resistance that's formed where the stock had trouble basically breaking over a certain dollar amount, basically $5, and then obviously broke down below that. And you can see multiple days in a row it created higher lows. And eventually, once it retested this $5 mark, broke out to as high as $7 a share. So basically, you want to look at the daily chart to kind of gauge your trades, and then you want to use your intraday chart to time when you're going to get in and when you're going to get out. So basically, this stock was trading at about $4 when we started looking at it, and figured this was on December 9th. Stock hit almost $7 today, so figure within 7 to 8 days, you could have made close to 100% on your money. And this is a perfect example of, we're typically not trading, 30, 40 different stocks in any one week. We'll focus on 4 or 5 stocks and trade those same stocks for, a week or two. And because that's the way you can become a good trader, is kind of feel out a stock, feel out its pattern, and you can see significant returns. So, this stock was up from $4. Obviously this is multiple days here, but it peaked out at $7 today. And once we played it on the long side, even after today, I know this morning we were trying to short this thing once it kind of reached that $7 mark, and you can make money on the downside too. So the FOUS strategy will teach you how to focus in on a certain stock, what specific patterns to look for that can potentially show you 50 to 100% returns within a week or two. Because at the end of the day, like I said, anybody can make 10 or 20% a year, but if you really want to make money in the market, there are stocks every day that rip 50 to 100%, and that's what FOUS basically teaches in the DVDs.
All right, yeah. So that was a really good trade on Suni. I actually missed this latest run. I was actually trading it pre-breakout, and we made some pretty good, solid trades on it. Uh, but at the same time, there were so many points where if you try to buy into the momentum on Suni, you were going to get faked out and turn into a losing position if you didn't cut your last short. So I missed that actual trade on Suni, but we've actually been shorting a lot lately. I'll put up the chart here on uh, what do we trade today? Run.
Yeah, that was a good one.
So I don't talk about any kind of shorting in the DVDs, but we actually have been making some short alerts lately, and we do have those video lessons that we do on the regular if you're a membership in the chat room, so that you can actually see, we do trade reviews almost every day if we're making good trades, whether we're making good trades or bad trades, because it's almost even more important to learn from your mistakes as opposed to learning from wins, because it's very important that you understand how important it is to, well, why is, oh, I'm on weekly here. How to lose as opposed to win. So basically, what I look for when I'm shorting a stock is a stock that's up, 50 to 100% over a very, very short amount of time. And when you look at stocks with, any stock really, whole numbers are a very, very important and key area to look at, because that's where there's a lot of psychological support and resistance. So what I look for is a stock that, again, on the daily chart, as you can see over here, has made a massive run from, $8, all of a sudden it's up at $13 here within 4 days. And after that, I look for it to, spike over a whole number. And, that's kind of, a lot of times that's shorts getting squeezed out because they might have stops set at $13. So once that goes over there, they're stopping out. In addition to that, people might be buying the breakout over 13. But a lot of times, if the stock is, very overbought and has already made a huge run, you're going to see it kind of wash out. I call it the over-under washout, basically, because that stock goes over that whole number and then kind of washes out below. So what I did here on RUN today was I got short here. I think it was, let me look at my numbers. it spiked over 13. I got short for a half position at 1306 because, a lot of these times, you don't know how high it's going to run over that whole number, but it's typically, under 30 cents. So if it stays below, 30 cents, sometimes it's going to go higher if it's a very, very volatile stock. But I like to kind of keep it under the 30-cent barrier because that's typically, an area, okay, it's kind of failing that first initial spike. So I got short for a half position at 1306, waited for it to kind of fizzle out here. And then after that, I got short again for another half position once it started kind of failing this little flag pattern and got into another position at 1314. As you can see from there, from 1314, this ran all the way down close to $12 per share. That's, almost a dollar gain per share, depending on how many shares you have. That's a pretty big trade. So that's basically what I did on RUNE. I got out half of the position, and I typically get in and out a lot of times using half positions, quarter positions, because trying to buy and sell at this at just one time, one buy and one sell, it's very difficult to pinpoint the exact entry and exact exit. So it's, I don't do it all the time, but it's good to be averaging in and averaging out because you don't know what the perfect trade is going to be. Sometimes you can make that perfect trade, but in these cases, especially on shorts, squeezes can happen and they just continue to go up and people get squeezed out really, really big. So I like to kind of, feel it out before I just go in with a heavy position. But I covered this short between 1250, I believe right here, 1250, and then I covered it again right here once this was on the intraday scale, looking like this was potentially kind of, forming a inverted head and shoulders pattern. I covered this right about here at 1260. So made a nice, 30, 40-cent gain on that short. And, shorting for me is actually quite a bit more fun than making money on the long side because, it's you're kind of rooting for the stock to eat shit. So it's just kind of, an ironic way to make money, but it's definitely exhilarating learning how to short and making money on the short side. So, we don't only go long, we also do shorts as well. But the FOUS4 DVDs, my niche, where I make the majority of all my money is going long on stocks, and that's what you learn in the FOUS4 trading strategy. We are also potentially working on a new shorting DVD once I get a lot more, trading examples that we can actually present to you guys. But as of right now, FOUS4, doesn't matter what the market's doing, there's opportunities every day using the FOUS4 strategy to make money. It really doesn't matter, if the market's up or down, there's always some stock being pushed by some kind of PR, news release. And almost, if you look at the top gainers and you learn what F patterns are that you learned in FOUS4 Part 2, almost every one of those top gainers start out with an F pattern. So as long as you can identify them and understand how those patterns work, you can take advantage of those actual patterns and make money in a very, very short amount of time. What's next here?
Yeah, if I can elaborate a little bit on that.
Yeah, go for it.
Basically, like Foos talks about, obviously him going into halves or thirds, he has a strategy before he goes into a trade. And I think that was one of my biggest mistakes when I first started. The DVDs are going to outline the education for you, but we say it all the time, trading is 10% skill, 90% mentality. So the more emotion that you can remove from trading, in my opinion, the better trader you'll become. Like before you go into every trade, besides looking for the patterns, you should always have a stop loss or a profit target in mind, because this will allow you to kind of gauge your trade. And by having a stop loss, you'll know where you can average down, and by having a profit target, you'll know where you want to book profits. Whereas if you're buying a stock and you have no idea about any of that, that's when your emotions take over. And probably 95% of the time, if you let your emotions do your trading, you're going to fail. And that was my biggest problem when I first started, and I think a lot of people need to realize that.
Yeah, and that's, kind of what we lay out in the DVDs. The motto was plan, execute, profit. You have to have a trading plan before you go in. And to make a trading plan, you have to understand a strategy. And so that's what the FOUS4 basically does for you. It simplifies everything into basically there's 4 patterns in FOUS4 and 3 patterns in FOUS4 Part 2, I guess 4. And so that's all I do, is trade the same exact patterns over and over again. So as long as you understand the patterns, understand the risk reward and risk management of how to actually trade those, that's very simple, and it really, cuts down the emotional stress that you have rather than going into a trade not really exactly sure what you're going to do. You know, obviously trading can be stressful regardless, no matter what. You know, it's a very, you know, high-paced and exhilarating career. You know, it's not for everyone, that's for sure. But, you know, if you do understand a strategy and you can actually do it and make it work, there's a lot of money to be made and a lot of you know, fun and excitement, and as well as a lot of freedom. You know, I typically only trade for between sometimes only 30 minutes, sometimes I'll trade 30 or 2 hours, and that's my trading day. So you can literally make, you know, thousands of dollars within that small little window and be done for the rest of the day. We obviously have a lot of other stuff, you know, like we've been preparing this webinar for the last 4 days all day long, trying to make sure everything was working and stuff like that. So we basically have, you know, day jobs as well, and almost all of our students have day jobs as well. And so, you know, if you do have a job, it's great to have this as supplemental income to that and be able to make money in a very short amount of time and then go off to your day job and do whatever you're doing with the rest of your life. But anyways, guys, what's up next here? We're also offering a 30% off of our elite memberships. Basically, with that, you get to come trade live with me and Mike, as well as everybody else in the chat room every day. Maybe I'll pull up the chat here so you guys can see what's going on. It's actually a really, really cool chat room. We have a much more dynamic and let me pull it up here. Much more dynamic and, you know, teamwork based chat room over anybody else. Basically, anybody in here can make alerts. You can either basically choose between just FOUS alerts, which are my alerts all day, or between all users. And everyone in here is kind of ranked based on what their number is, you know, by how good they were on trades. So if somebody made a hot trade or something, you can come click this little heart button, and that's going to give them a point to increase their rankings. So it's really, you know, I don't want the whole focus to be just on what's FOUS doing today. I want people to show off their skills. I want people to excel at the FOUS4 trading strategy. And that's exactly what Mike did. Mike came into the chat room, went through the training, and he was just fucking killing it all day long in chat. And I was like, this guy's a fucking beast. And then I talked to Robert, and I was like, all right, man, we got to go hire this guy. So we flew out to New York, went out, had dinner, and had drinks with Mike, kind of told him what we were looking for out of him, and we brought him on board because he was really absolutely killing it in chat. And that's what I want out of everyone, is to come in chat, use what you learned, and really show us, you know, how well you actually learned what we gave you in the course material. And so that's basically what we do in chat all day, is this bullshit about stocks. If there's nothing really going on, we shoot the shit about whatever we want. So it's also pretty entertaining just to be in the chat. And, you know, being a trader, if you're not part of a chat room or some kind of community, or you don't have trading buddies, it's a really lonely, boring situation. So being part of a community is really a good way to, you know, hash things out. If you have any questions, you guys can come in and talk with us about it, shoot the shit about stocks. And it makes it a lot more fun because you're not just sitting there by yourself at a computer looking at porn and trading stocks. You're actually, you know, interacting with people and having a good time and making good friends. You know, I just met both these guys online through trading, and now they're both, you know, good friends of mine. So it's really cool to share that, you know, passion with somebody else about trading rather than just sitting at your home alone, not really doing anything. I know, Mike, if you want to talk anything about the chat room here.
Yeah, honestly, when I first, I tried FOUS first. You know, I tried a couple other gurus, but honestly, the chat room is so convenient because, you know, it's really a team effort. You know, everybody's cool in the chat room, and if anybody kind of acts like a dick, you know, usually we kick them out. So it's real good vibes, you know, and it allows you to kind of go in, and instead of trying to, you know, watch the media outlets or, you know, search the internet for stock plays, we're constantly alerting what everybody's looking at, so that consolidates that into one screen, and it makes trading that much easier. Because if you're like, all right, you know, I don't know what's hot today, you log into the chat and you'll find out within, you know, 5 minutes basically what everybody's trading. And that's, you know, trading is all about timing, and, you know, sometimes trades will be sometimes 5 to 10 minutes long. So having that chat room definitely makes it fun and more convenient to trade. You know, you feel, and it's also the camaraderie factor, you know.
Yeah, and we have different features in the chat. I'll show you again here. what we call a radar. Basically, if I'm looking at a stock and it's forming up a pattern that I'm interested in, say RUNE, which is what I shorted, anybody can come in here and make a radar alert. So you just type /R, run, and I'll just be like, hey, watching for the over under 13 for short. And so that basically pops up in chat, comes over here on the left side as well as a audible alert, as well as comes in the feed of what we're actually watching. It's basically like a Twitter feed, but just private within our own room of people. In addition to that, if I make an alert, I come in here, put in what I'm buying, price, how many shares, buy, sell, short, or radar with a little message, and then that does the same exact thing here in the left side. Comes up as an audible alert, text message, email, as well as shows up in the chat room. In addition, if I have any holdings, in the holdings tab, you'll see exactly what I'm holding at the time. Right now, I'm 100% cash, so I don't have anything in that whatsoever. But it's just a really, really cool chat room that we have built that really sets us apart from any other chat room where people just have basic text to shoot the shit back and forth. It's basically like having your own personal Twitter in here, so that a lot of the times if anything's hot, at least one of our members is putting it in front of everybody to actually present to them, a potential trade. And that's what's really cool. It's almost like having a stock screener, but it's basically a human screener where we, if you identify the pattern and understand it, it's basically somebody in our chat, whether it be me, Mike, or one of our other top students, we're going to be mentioning it, and you're going to see it happen live right there. But anyways, guys, I think at this point right now, we'll go into the Q&A. So if you guys have any questions directly to me, Mike, or Robert, about how we got started, questions about the DVDs, memberships, chat room, whatever. Chris, gap strategies we do, mostly F1s, are all based off of momentum plays that are happening that are gapping open that morning on news with volume. So that's basically all we talk about in FOUS4 Part 2 is momentum plays.
Alex, the 13 EMA that we talk about, which is usually the yellow line that Bruce and I showed on our screens, that's the short-term trend indicator. So that's a great gauge from a trading standpoint, whether it's a daily chart or intraday. If a stock is riding that trend, typically it's very bullish, and the second that it breaks that trend is a good time to book your profits or get out of position. That's what we like to use as a huge strategy in the FOUS system.
Anthony asked you if we explain why we make the trades when we do in the chat. Well, first and foremost, you should understand what those trades patterns are, because if you don't, you obviously have gone through no training and you don't know what you're doing, and you shouldn't even be in chat in the first place. But we do have daily video lessons. We have a video library of over 400 video lessons that are basically just trade reviews. So if we make a really good trade, make a really, really poor trade, we'll go in afterwards and do a video lesson and broadcast that out to you guys after the trading day, saying, hey, this is the trade today from this morning that we alerted. This is why we did it, and explain the whole situation inside out.
Chris is asking, how do you guys gauge your stop loss? It's a very broad question, but at the end of the day, depending on what you're trading with, you should always gauge your positions by your risk. Usually beginner traders will look at a stock and only look at what they think it'll go to. They never consider their downside. So when I started, anytime you go into a trade, only buy the amount of shares and put your stop loss for the dollar amount you're willing to lose. Because after that, if you're going to buy a stock and you don't have a stop loss where you're going to it's going to start to do damage to your account, that's how you can blow your account up really quickly. So I'd say put your stops usually for what the most you're willing to lose.
Janet's asking about trailing stop losses. I don't use trailing stop losses, but I follow the 13 EMA a lot as kind of a guide to, you know, gauge whether the trend, short-term trend on an intraday scale is bullish or bearish. So a lot of times if a stock, and you'll learn all about this in the DVDs, if it breaks down the 13 EMA, I might be like, all right, the trend is starting to reverse here. I might need to get out. So I use the 13 EMA a lot, and I detail it very extensively in the DVDs about how to use that as kind of your risk factor or how to manage your risk based on that short-term trend. Someone asked, can I use the FOUS4 strategy and have a 60 to 70% win ratio? I mean, that's all based on your trading abilities and whatnot. Like I said before earlier, my win ratio is only 52%, so I'm literally losing on half my trades. The only reason why I'm able to win is because I know how to manage risk and cut my losses short. And that's what that takes is discipline in addition to understanding, knowing how to manage your risk. And we do teach that in the DVDs as well. So my Omar asked for 13 EMA, what timeline do you use? I use it on any timeline. So let me share my screen here. I'll show you an example of ENPH here. This was a stock that broke out of an F1 that we radared in chat. This was a very, very volatile stock. So some of these things happen so quick, it's very, very difficult to get in and out of a position when you need to if you're not, perfectly timing it. So I didn't time this one correctly because it happened so quick, but it was a great example of a potential F1 to take advantage of and kind of show you how quickly these things move in a short amount of time when they break that pattern. In addition, you can see this is a 1 minute chart that I'm looking at over here. And basically, rule of thumb, when a stock breaks out of an F1, as long as it holds above that 13 EMA on a 1 minute chart, the short-term trend is very, very bullish, and there's really no telling how high it goes. As you can see, this peaked at about 450 and then finally broke down the 13 EMA right here. And from there, this thing completely washed out the rest of the session. And you can see the daily chart, just a really nasty upward spike there. But basically what happened, somebody was asking about gap plays. Basically what we look for in F1 are stocks that have news, are gapping open, and potentially going to form an F1. And basically an F1 is a stock that forms up some sort of flag pattern at the beginning session of the morning. And that's what happened here on EMPH. It created that first high and then initial run and then had a secondary high at about 328. I radared this right here in chat. It was saying, hey, this is coming back up, potential breakout here. But it was a little bit sketch because it was starting to spike up. We had nice volume coming in. And, I radared it, but I just didn't have the balls to really just pull the trigger. And all of a sudden, within seconds, this thing spiked from 323 all the way up to 360. So that was a huge move. I was sitting there with my finger on the buy button, hesitating a little bit. And then all of a sudden, within seconds, I was unable to get in that trade. And after that, once it breaks it up here, you really don't know what you're going to do. It's important that you don't chase stocks either. A lot of people see these patterns and it'll be up here after potentially maybe I alerted down here. They're like, now it's up here. They're like, hey, Foo, should I buy this? I'm like, I'm not fucking buying it up there. But I mean, if you want to, you're putting your ass on the line. So it's really important to also understand that you can't chase stocks. You got to, be there at the right time or not trade it at all. And so that's basically, what you have to do in trading. But this is basically a good example of an F1. A stock that gapped open on news and just made that rip after that pattern broke out. And then similar thing here, this was a potential short. Unfortunately, as I said before, I try to keep it under 30 cents as far as the barrier on the over a whole number. I got short here at about 412, 411 here. And then all of a sudden this thing ripped up to 450 and I stopped out for in the 420s or 430s here and then came back down. So, my logic was there, but it was very, very volatile. And so I got stopped out. Unfortunately, didn't, capitalize on that trade. But it was a similar thing, a stock that makes a huge run up, breaks over a whole number, fails, washes out, and then comes back down. This thing came, all the way from 450 back down to close to $3 at the end of the day. So while the logic is there, you're not always going to execute the trade properly. And that's just trading. You're going to see it every day. There's always what shoulda, couldas. And all you can do is really try to identify the patterns and at least get a little piece of the pie. You're never going to make a perfect trade. All you can really do is learn a strategy, try to identify those patterns as best as you can, and get a little piece of the pie. You're never going to make the perfect trade, and that's just life. That's what trading is trying to understand patterns and, trying to make something out of it.
Yeah, FOUS, if you want, I can show another example of actually a play today.
Yeah, go for it.
Another, going back to the DVDs, the 13 EMA is a huge gauge, especially from an intraday standpoint, just like FOUS said. You guys see that fine? Basically, it's another stock. Rewalk Robotics is trading at 45 bucks a share, and it was basically knocked down all the way to $5 over a year. So basically, it was up today, and as you can see, this is the 5-minute time frame down here. But once this thing gained momentum throughout the whole day, once again, following that 13 EMA, this thing ripped up almost 80% before noon. And then, obviously down here, it kind of tested that 13 EMA. But, going back to the DVDs, there's strategies we look for that are 13 EMA bounces as well. So once this thing cracked the 13 EMA on the upside for the rest of the day, this thing just sold off. So there's a lot of examples that you can use the 13 EMA as a short-term indicator. So.
Marcus is asking, are you basing your trades just on patterns alone or news sources as well? Well, yeah, I mean, basically any kind of, charting program you're using or whatever, they're going to have some sort of news feed with that. So obviously, if you can find a pattern and combine it with some sort of PR, all that PR does is help, throw wood on the fire to that pattern and make it a lot more reliable trade, and, continue to have that nice momentum. So yeah, definitely having news out is a huge part of making those patterns work even better. Yusuf asked, do you identify these breakouts as they happen or before? Every night me and Mike both have our own individual watch lists that we send out that you can see every night and see what we're watching. And then every morning I send out a pre-market watch list, which is basically a list of potential F1 patterns like I just showed you on ENPH and Mike showed you on RWLK. And so I send out that pre-market watch list. Is usually about a list of between 3 to 6 stocks saying, hey guys, these are the top watches of the day. These are what we're looking at as potential F1s. In addition to that, if I see an F1 potentially forming out pre-breakout, a lot of times I'll either buy it pre-breakout in anticipation, or I'll send out a radar alert saying, hey, you guys watch this stock. We're forming up at F1. We could potentially be making a trade here coming up here soon.
Renee's asking, what's the PDT rule? Basically, after the crisis in 0809, the SEC made that rule. So basically, if you want a day trade, you have to have at least $25,000 in your account in order to satisfy, if you're doing at least 4 to 5 trades a week. So some of us don't have that much money, and if you want to avoid that, FOUS Alerts has a hedge fund that can allow you to basically make more trades without having that much capital in your account.
Yeah, we offer something called the Hedge Fund. If you go to FOUSAlerts.com/hedge fund, that's going to put you in touch with Robert, and he can give you more details about that. We also have webinars online on YouTube. If you just search Cameron FOUS Hedge Fund, you'll see our past webinars that we've done on the hedge fund information. Someone was asking about the 13 EMA and time frames. So he was basically asking, I'm looking at the 13 EMA on the 1 minute, and I'm looking at the 5 minute, and I'm looking at the daily. The 13 EMA is different on all those, and that's very true. The 13 EMA is basically calculated on whatever time frame you're looking at, but I mainly use the 1 minute when I'm looking at intraday, sometimes 5 minute because, or usually in the mornings I use 1 minute because you're going to see a lot more intricate patterns going on. Later in the day, I kind of move towards 5 minute. I'm not sure what you use, Mike.
I mean, I use all different time frames. At the end of the day, whether you're looking at the 1 minute or the 15 minute, it's the same pattern, just going to be from a different perspective. So the 1 minute is obviously going to The 1 minute's gonna have a quicker buy or sell signal. So if you're the type of person that usually buys or sells really quick, I would recommend using a higher time frame in order to let that pattern really work out. Because that was when I first started trading, that was kind of my problem as well. You want to cut your losses fast, but you also want to let your winners ride. And cutting your winner too short can be just as worse as letting your losers ride down sometimes. Because I've sold stocks before that I was up 20% and they ended up ripping up 100%. So I would use higher time frames for anybody that's looking to ride the 13-minute at a longer time scale.
Yeah, it's really just personal preference how, obviously if you're on a 1 minute time frame, your trading actually to be on a much smaller time scale. So a 13 EMA trend might break down much sooner than looking at a 5 minute. So it's really just personal preference, just as in the FOUS4 trading strategy is a niche over something else. Within the intraday charting, you just got to find out what's comfortable for you. As far as brokers, a lot of you guys are asking about SureTrader. I don't recommend SureTrader whatsoever. I think we have a much better option than that. Obviously, sounds like I'm, promoting our product. It is our product, or we're teamed up with another company. So, yeah, I definitely recommend it over SureTrader, not just because it's ours and we make money off it, but because I honestly think it's a better product. With SureTrader or any other broker you go to, you're basically just given money to trade with and you're left on your own. If you go through the hedge fund, the DVDs are included with that, so you get trading or the training going along with that. In addition, we have risk managers. So basically people there that you can talk to every day if you're not making good trades, and they are actually there to help you out and to continue on your educational process and help you go through a solid educational training, as opposed to with any other broker. You sign up, you're just left on your own. They could care less if you blow up your account. So basically the hedge fund is there to really help you become a successful trader and keep your account alive a lot longer. There's actually risk parameters that they set where they say, okay, I'm going to let you have a max loss of $250 today. So if you go under a $250 loss, you're out, you're cut, and you're going to have to wait until tomorrow. And some people might think of that as, that's stupid, I want to keep trading. But a lot of people, if you start out on a losing day, you might just steamroll yourself into just continually losing on trades and start making revenge trades because you're bored or because you want to make your money back, when in reality, that's not what you want to do. If you are having a bad day, the best thing you can do is to stop, walk away, come back the next day fresh. A lot of times, if I make my first trade at the open and loss, I'm like, all right, maybe I should just cool today. Maybe today's not the right day. And so it's really, again, comes down to having a confident mindset and being able to manage, just the whole mental fuck of trading stocks. And that's what the risk managers are there for at the hedge fund, is it can kind of control those mental emotions for you, because in the beginning, you're going to have a lot of, mixed emotions going on. A lot of people start out with paper trading, as did I. And when you do that, it's very good practice because you kind of understand the patterns and you get to see how trades actually operate. But once your actual real money's on the line, it's like a light switch flipping on and off. It's completely different. Your money's on the line, your emotions, your heart starts pumping, and it's a totally different ball game. So within the hedge fund, they have those risk parameters there to help you out so that you're not just sitting there having a heart attack, not knowing if you buy and sell. They set those risk parameters so that you don't blow up your account, just as if you were at some other broker. They don't give a fuck. They're going to let you give you the money to trade with, and you're just completely on your own. So that's the whole major difference than going with a place like SureTrader as opposed to the hedge fund, which is at FOUSalerts.com/hedge fund. Yes, Mike said SEC says they'll be stopping stop losses as of February. Is that true? I believe that is true. I don't set stops anyways. I do all mental stops, or I go to sleep and just let it ride and call it a nap roll. As far as the hedge fund goes, the minimum to start is $3,000. It's basically you're paying for education. That includes the DVDs and you're also going to get capital allocated to trade with, and it's upwards of $8,000 from there. But any specific details on the hedge fund, the fees, all that stuff, get in contact with Robert at FOUS I don't know, Robert, if you want to touch anything on the hedge fund real quick right now.
Yeah, sure. So the hedge fund is definitely a great opportunity. Like Cameron said, that it really there's people there watching you. So they have weekly webinars. They have support managers that really get to know your trading habits, and they start you out really tightly as you get used to the platform. And as you do better, you show them that you're doing better. They'll reward you with more capital, up to hundreds of thousands of dollars, if they think that you're going to make money and you're going to make them money. Because down the road there is a profit sharing agreement where they do take 10% of your profits, but that's later down the road once you're really killing it. So in the beginning, they really want to see you survive, and that is really it for a lot of people. A lot of people need that time for that light bulb to really go off in their head. Sometimes people on their own, they may be a month or two out before they really get it, but it's too late. They've already done a lot of damage to their account. So with the hedge fund, they're there every day with a lot of different parameters to really guide your trading along as you do better and grow. And then as you do, they'll loosen things up as you get better and give you more capital. So you can make money. We've had guys make over $3,000 on day one. You're not limited anyway with any of the different levels. But please email me at robert@FOUSAlerts.com for any of the details. There's a lot of good stuff. Their platform is lightning fast, and their short list is amazing. It was built by a former high-frequency trader programmer, so he knows what he's doing. The execution is good. The commissions that you pay are actually at cost to them. They don't make any money on the commission, so you're getting the cheapest commissions out there. There's so many benefits for it. We use them because they help our traders survive, and obviously they stick around longer, they make more money, and they're in our chat room and being more positive. So that's why we do it. Please email me, robert@FOUSAlerts.com. The number's on the website. I'll be call tomorrow anytime. I'll be in live chat here shortly once we close this down, and we can go over everything.
Robert, someone asked if it's only PC, correct? Or is it Mac as well?
No, it's Mac. It's Mac as well. Because we're friends with another trader, Kunal. He uses it on his Mac, so you can use it on the Mac as well. Yes, we're all educators, Daryl, Kunal, Cameron, me. We know all about it, and we're technically educators for them, and we help you get started, all the details. You have to take a little quiz. It's not so bad. Education is a requirement, so our courses are included if you don't have them already. And they just really want you to get started the right way, and they really give you all the tools so you're not trading with one hand behind your back.
Again, guys, if you are interested or you already have a broker that you trade with, we are doing 30% off of our elite membership right now. Normally $197. It is now $147. So if you click that offers tab, there is a link to getting that promo. The promo code is B like Mike. I saw a couple of you guys have already done that, so I'm stoked to see you guys in chat tomorrow morning. Hopefully we can make some bank. Jamil, we just talked about if you have under $25,000 for the last 20 minutes about what you should do. FOUSAlerts.com/hedge fund. That was what Robert was just talking about the entire time. Yes, DVDs are streamed. We don't ship any products. If you buy the DVDs, you have instant access to watch them immediately.
Nico's asking a typical day preparing for trading. We say it all the time. to be a good trader, there's a lot of preparation behind it. It's very rare you see somebody just kind of flop out of bed and just trade and make money. Typically, Foos and I, we have watch lists the night before. We have watch lists the day of. We're constantly planning certain stocks that we're looking for and certain prices we're looking to get in, whether it's long or short. So being a trader is just like being a lawyer or a doctor. There's a lot of hours outside of the market day where you should be, we use FinViz for scanning, where you're scanning for stocks, you're looking at news, potential plays. So in my opinion, always have a watch list. Create one the night before and use the news that comes out the day of to create a secondary watch list to constantly have plays instead of just waking up, with zero watch list and just kind of winging it, because I can almost guarantee that you won't make money in the long run.
Yeah, it's definitely important. Trading is all about preparation and understanding what the patterns are. So every day I make a watch list for the following day. So I have a list of stocks that are in potential patterns that I might be trading. Just as when I wake up in the morning, I make a pre-market watch list of what's moving. So I have a list of stocks uh, to actually, potentially be trading. You don't just start the trading day and have no idea what's going to be happening. Obviously, you need to have some sort of list that you can focus on and watch those plays and actually have something to trade. Omar's asking, Foos, now that I have the DVDs, how do I find them before the move actually happens? You go to your local tarot card reader and ask for their advice on how to predict the stock market.
Matt, you trade through the hedge fund. They have a proprietary platform that they developed called AppTrade. It's lightning fast, good short lists. So you execute everything through that.
All right, this guy's getting booted.
Which one?
This guy that keeps asking about SureTrader when we've talked about the hedge fund.
Yeah. All right, Sanjay, see you in chat. I know we've been talking. Charlie, with screeners, we use FinViz, the night before to kind of go over our watch list. That's covered in FOUS4 Part 2. FOUS4 Part 2, it really does lay out how the FOUS4 method, how you can find these stocks on your own without, nothing is left behind. Every little step is there. What he's done and created is there.
As far as my opinion on anybody else in the industry, I'm friends with basically everybody out there. Um, like I said before, everybody has training programs, everybody has other stuff. I've gone through both their training programs and I suck at using their strategy. You really got to find out what works for you. I'm good at what I do, they're good at what they do, and that's basically it. I'm not sure I understand David's question here.
Just reading that.
Something about leasing applied to the dads or DVDs. The DVDs, unless you don't have, if you already have the DVDs, there is a discount on the hedge fund. But if you don't, the DVDs are included with starting your hedge fund education. Omar, it depends on what you have to start with. The minimum to start in the hedge fund is $3,000, but like me, I use speedtrader.com and speedtraderpro.com. Those are both minimum of $15,000 deposit and $25,000 deposit. So that's for once you kind of build your account and get over those PDT rules, then you can go into a broker like that. But most of you guys, which are probably don't have a lot of capital to begin with, that's what the hedge fund is there for you guys to start building up your accounts.
Somebody was asking about charting. We use TC2000. That's probably the best bet.
It's the go-to. Marissa, we do not have any FOUS4 hats available at the moment, but I have more in line coming. As far as trading style, it's basically all this very short-term trading. We're day traders. It's basically a combination of day trading and swing trading. Like we said before, FOUS4, the original DVD that I created years ago, is basically really just all about understanding daily charts and how to swing trade the four different patterns, which is the FOUS4. The secondary DVD, FOUS4 Part 2, I created after 2008 when the market was just completely haywire and you had to understand intraday charting to be able to survive that market. And that's when I started, really getting into day trading, and which is more what I do now, because it's a very, the thing about day trading is you can make some really, really big trades, swing trading, because you have multiple days for that stock to make a move. But at the same time, if you're holding stocks overnight, that induces more stress. You have to watch that stock all day long. With day trading, I can trade for 30 minutes in the morning, make a couple grand, and be done for the day. So I mainly focus on day trading now, just in and out, wham bam, thank you, ma'am, and then I'm done for the day or going back to sleep because West Coast trading sucks balls.
Yeah, it also depends on the market condition. I mean, when I first started, the market was a lot more better for swing trading in the summertime than it has been for the last 3 to 4 months. Yeah, I don't think I've held any swing trades for the past 3 or 4 months. And the market condition is definitely a huge factor into that. Renee's asking, do you think the market will keep going up? Basically, beautiful thing about being a trader is we don't care what the market does because we're trend traders. If the market's going up, we play the long side, and if it's going down, we can play the short side. But we don't really care what the market does.
Jimmy asked, do you have to already know how to trade stocks to understand the DVDs? No, it's basically a step, you know, A to Z guide. Basically, you don't need to know anything about the stock market. FOUS4 really goes into the very, very basics of stuff at the beginning of it, so you kind of understand trading before you really get into the patterns and actually how to trade. So if you don't know anything about the stock market, you can go through the training program, which is 14, 15 hours long, and you'll basically know everything I know about the stock market that I've learned in the past little over a decade.
I was asking how much percentage capital of your portfolio do you use in any one trade? You know, that obviously depends on how much you're trading with. When your account is smaller when you're starting, obviously you need to devote much more of that capital to certain positions to grow it into a bigger account. But typically, I usually don't like to put more than 30 to 40% of my account in any one position. This will help you diversify and kind of not get your balls handed to you if that position goes against you.
Yeah, diversification is a major part of your success as a trader. You can't just be going in to stocks, and that's partially why I blew my account up 3 times when I first started trading, because I was trading literally penny stocks, stocks that were trading at a fraction of a penny, and I was putting 50 to 70% of my account into one stock. A particular stock was a stock called Games and Flicks. It was a GZFX was the ticker. I don't even know if they're still around, but they're basically trying to be the Netflix of video games. This was back in like 2007, 2006, and I watched my account drop, 70% in one day because I was loaded up on this tiny little penny stock that I was fantasizing about. This is going to be the next big thing. And that's another thing. You can't get emotionally attached to stocks. There's a lot of things, story stocks, where people think, oh man, this thing is going to be it. sometimes if you're right, you can make a lot of money, but I don't mess with any of that crap. I don't invest in anything. 99% of the time, I have absolutely zero idea what the company does, and I honestly could care less. All I need to know is the pattern there. Is there some kind of news out pushing this stock, and that's basically it. So it's really just all we do is try to simplify things down, basically dumb things down, so you're not overcomplicating yourself. Uh, to make the trade. You know, a lot of people ask me what indicators to use, and they try to use all these bells and whistles on these charting programs. When in reality, who really cares about any of that stuff? All I look at is price and volume and the pattern, and that's really all that matters. And is there news pushing the stock? Um, that's basically it. I try to just simplify it as much as possible, so there's not a million things going on in your head trying to confuse you when you're trying to make the trade. Omar asks, what should you do if you only got 800 bucks? What's your recommendation? Obviously our training is 50% off right now. Go through that or save up until you have capital to actually do it right, because with 800 bucks, you're not going to do much.
Somebody was asking about float. Typically, I like to trade stocks. We trade small cap stocks, sometimes micro cap, but I typically like to trade stocks that trade on average at least 200,000 shares. This way, you have liquidity to get out because any stock that trades 10, 20, 50,000 shares a day, if you have any size in it, you're going to have trouble probably piecing it out.
Renee asked about, or Robert, go ahead.
Ulysses has a good question. Yes, anyone can be a trader. I've seen cops become traders, and I've seen doctors become traders, dentists. It doesn't matter where you are. If you have the passion to learn something, and that's the beautiful thing about stock trading. It gives you the freedom, and the amount of work and preparation that you put into it really it equals the success that you will have in the market. So there's not many things where if you apply yourself and you dedicate yourself and it's one of those rare things that the harder you work, the more successful you can be.
Renee was asking about trading the bounce. There is several bounce plays that bounce strategies that I use to trade the market. All those are listed in the video lesson library that we have once you're an elite member, and we do have a strategy for playing the bounce that's taught in FOUS4 Part 2, and that also has a lot to do with trading trends along with 13 EMA.
Brandon's asking, is trading two stocks good? Yeah, most of the time we're trading, anywhere between 1 and 5 stocks at once. Because trading, I always use this reference, is just like baseball. There's no hitters that you see bat, 5 for 5 or 10 for 10. So usually you'll be right, using the strategy, maybe 2 or 3 out of 5 times. Those 2 or 3 winners will offset those 2 losers, and that's basically diversification in itself.
Miziel, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but they're saying they're from Mexico, and they can't get a broker to trade U.S. stocks, and that's one of the beautiful things about the hedge fund is it doesn't matter where you are in the world as long as you have an internet connection and the amount of money to start with the educational process of getting in the hedge fund, you can become part of our community. So it doesn't matter where you are. If you go to FOUSalerts.com/hedgefund, fill out that form. Robert will get in contact with you and give you all the proper steps needed to get started trading the U.S. stock market.
Matt, with the hedge fund, there's a profit sharing agreement, but they're not going to take 10% until you start killing it after 3-4 months. It just depends how you're doing, but as they take profits, that's something you want. They have a rooting interest in your success, so that's why they nurture students and they have a system set up because they know a certain amount of people are going to be successful under this system. So, it's actually a good partnership that you have with them. And yeah, as long as you're there, they have the right to take 10%. They won't all the time necessarily, but they do have that right to take 10% of your profits on a monthly basis.
All right, guys, again, we're about to wrap this up here. So final chance to get the DVDs at 50% off. Robert, if you want to post a link in there, the promo code is FOUS50 for the DVDs. In addition, if you click that offers tab, we are offering 30% off the elite membership. So if you look to your right of the screen, click that offers tab. There's going to be a discount with the promo code BeLikeMike with the buy now button. And that's going to give you 30% off the monthly plan, which is now $147 instead of $197. I saw we got a lot of you guys that just signed up today, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys in chat tomorrow. And hopefully we can all make some bank and get this weekend and holiday season started off right. But anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Robert, for helping me out with this and keeping this FOUS4 team ball rolling.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for coming, guys. Appreciate it.
See you in chat.
All right, guys. See you in the morning.